Hi guys, I'm here at FOSDEM. This is a wonderful, incredible 25 years edition, and I'm here with Georg.
Georg.
Georg,
Yes.
but he was explaining me wonderful stuff. So please introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi. Good to be with you. Happy to be back at FOSDEM. My name is Georg. I'm with the CHAOSS project. CHAOSS is short for Community Health Analytics for Open Source Software, where we do metrics and analytics on how open source communities are doing. So the health of the communities, we have metrics around the number of contributors, how they're working together, the collaboration. We can really build out how our community is doing. And in open source, that is really important because especially now with the Cyber Resilience Act, with other reasons that companies need to manage their intake of open source, they need to understand, okay, how are these communities actually doing so that as we manage that relationship with the community, we can do this at scale, because open source software is in everything, and companies need to sustain and manage that relationship. So metrics are really important. So we've started CHAOSS 2017. We've been around for quite some time, and yeah, it's been a really good time.
Chaos, wonderful. Wow, that's great. So what's the status of open source in your vision in 2025?
2025, open source is everywhere. When we look at the statistics, between 75% and 99% of software includes open source software. When we look at the trends, right now there's a very worrying trend of, in the last 2 years, there have been 700% more malicious packages being discovered that were published in open source. A lot of the open source packages, projects, repositories are not maintained, so there's a lot of noise. And if someone who wants to use open source, there is really not a good indicator of what is trustworthy and what can I use without worrying about it. Of the software, only about 10% is actually used in code bases. When we look at the cost of software supply chain attacks, so the XZ, the attack that happened last year, where someone spent a lot of time building up trust in an open source project and then added a malicious line of code in there. That luckily was discovered, but there might be other attack vectors by the way open source works that can be exploited. And so right now it costs the industry about $50 billion every year to mitigate cybersecurity attacks, software supply chain attacks. Gartner is estimating that by this year, 45% of companies will have faced an attack through the software supply chain. And open source is a huge part of how software is built today. So we really need to focus attention on securing that and managing that relationship with the communities, making sure that the communities have the resources that they need, the maintainers are supported, that they're paid for the work that they're doing. So there's a lot of work to be done in open source.
Absolutely. I think that the most famous supply chain attack was SolarWind, when
Yes.
somebody was able to inject some malicious code in the pipeline before distributing, and it was impacting a lot of customers, and they become like the attack vector for reaching out
Yeah.
a lot of industry.
Yeah, and companies that were affected by SolarWinds spent on average about 11% of their annual revenue to mitigate that effect. So the impact is really huge, and companies do need to pay attention to open source and help to secure the projects that are building the software that we all rely on.
Yeah, I saw a lot of initiative, especially Red Hat side, so Sigfox. What's your opinion about this type of initiative?
There are lots of great initiatives that are helping build better, more secure open source software. And while I don't want to speak to any particular initiative, there is a lot of good work being done to bring security mindset to open source projects, to build out new ways of securing funds and helping organizations fund open source projects, of getting maintainers paid for the work that they're doing, because it a lot of maintainers are spending their weekends and after hours on building the software that we all rely on.
Yeah, it's incredible because, I mean, most of the people that are following us are using the internet, are using a mobile phone or a smart device, and all the stack, all the library that rely for video content and sound are actually created by some project.
Yeah.
And it's incredible the work that you are doing and all the statistics that you aggregate this data.
Yeah,
And
thank you. If anyone is interested,
yeah,
on Sunday I have 2 talks here at FOSDEM. One is in the funding open source dev room in the morning, and then in the afternoon in the SBOM dev room, there's a second talk about securing the supply chain.
cool. And how can person keep in touch with you if they are interested?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn. You can use my name, Georg, and then last name is Link, Link, and you can find me on LinkedIn.
Cool. And how do you see the future, especially with a new AI open source model being released?
There's a lot that we can speculate about the future. I don't know what it will hold. There are a couple trends that I see. For one, developing software is becoming easier with the help of AI models and large language models. At the same time, also, it is easier to really create a lot of work for the open source maintainers with pull requests and issues that are nonsensical and that tie up the time from more useful work. So I want to see how it shapes out, how AI is going to affect open source in the creation of software. I also think it's really cool to see how open source projects are taking up AI models, large language models, and building cool and new solutions. So that's super exciting to watch right now.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Georg, and definitely let's keep in touch. Let's make this 2025 rocket.
Thank you.
Bye.